Hello, Richard Needles here. Today I'm conducting another one of my interviews about mentors. And today I'm speaking with Jodi Berg, CEO of Vitamix. Jodi and I have known each other for years. She's one of those leaders I admire and respect. And Jodi, I'd like to start, and to you, I'd like to start for my LinkedIn audience just with an overview. What's the Jodi Berg story?
Wow, Richard, I'm not sure we have that much time, but no, in a nutshell, so who is Jodi Berg? I am a mom. I am president and CEO of a business. I am, a daughter, a sister to all of the different people in my world. I have two amazing daughters that I will speak about in a few minutes when we talk about the people that I allow to mentor me now or that I look to for mentorship. So yeah, I'm just somebody who cares deeply about helping other people figure out who they are and what their superpowers are, if you will, what their personal purpose is, and looking for opportunities to help people spread their wings and fly.
And along those lines, one of the reasons I admire you is you're serious about this passion to the point where you went back to school and got a PhD.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
about that.
So the reason I got my PhD in personal purpose was Vitamix went through this incredible growth period, and I had never had really a ton of experience about being a president and CEO. The only way I could figure out how do you navigate this is to give everyone that worked at Vitamix the opportunity to live with purpose and to this is where we're going. This is the end game. Now go. And it worked incredibly well. And I thought, now I need to understand why. So I went back and I studied it. And personal purpose is really, out of my research, three things came out. If an employee has a personal purpose that they can identify and connect with, it doesn't have to connect to their company's purpose in order to have these results. If you simply have purpose and live with purpose, then you as an employee are more engaged in whatever you need to do. Now that makes perfect sense, right? If I'm living with purpose and I'm doing things purposefully, then I'm going to be more engaged in what I'm doing. The second thing that came out is if you have a personal purpose, you are more committed to the work that you're doing, and you can say, yeah, that's logical too. The third one that came out was if you have a personal purpose, your satisfaction with life is significantly higher than if you work for a company that has a higher purpose. So bottom line, if you want more engaged employees, if you want employees that are more committed, and if you would like to give your employees that opportunity to have life satisfaction, or if you'd like to be more engaged, you'd like to be more committed, and you personally want some life satisfaction, figure out what is your personal purpose? What drives you every day to get out of bed and make something happen? Why are you doing it? Identify that, and it should have a significant impact in your life.
Wow, I absolutely love it. And just to share a little Richard story, I went through an exercise probably over a decade, and I landed on, I am here to encourage, support, and challenge. And those
Mm-hmm.
three words have really resonated in the leadership coaching work that I do. So yeah, and again, Vitamix is one of those companies that lives those values more than any company I have seen. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So let me switch gears now and ask about those important influences for you. And I'm always curious with seasoned leaders, who was a mentor early in your life? Who was that person? What did you learn from that person?
So I actually have several, and I will be succinct as I tell you about them, but they're all really, really important. One of the first ones was my mom. And my mom, so she's raising 5 kids, and she goes back to school to get her degrees. And so I'm growing up with the mom that's putting herself back into school, and she taught me that, gosh, I could do anything if I set my mind to it, and I set my priorities as far as what I'm trying to achieve and why. I can do just about anything. So very early on, I just looked to that and said, okay, I see how she's doing it. I could do the same. Now, my father was also a mentor, and he taught me that there's a lot of times when you can react to something that's important without putting the emotion in it. Like there's times when emotion is a good thing, but there's also times just because something is happening to you that's possibly really bad, you don't have to be emotional about it. And that's a lesson that I've carried with me over the years. The other one I want to mention is both of my grandmas. Both of them taught me, as I watched them, they were incredibly strong, amazing women that were behind the scenes. And they supported people that were up front. So my grandfather was very outgoing, and everyone thought that, oh, Grandpa Bill's amazing. But I was able to observe my grandmother making it possible for Bill to be the best that he could be. Mm-hmm. And he made it possible for her to be the best she could be. And she didn't want to be in the limelight. So I really learned from her that it's possible to be incredibly powerful and make things happen without being upfront and supporting other people. You don't have to be in the limelight.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that the last two I wanted to mention, I grew up during this time of Mandela and Mother Teresa, and maybe you think this is a little hokey, but when all of that played out around the world, two things that I learned that stick with me today, and both of them, they taught me that that treating people with dignity was powerful and appropriate and possible in all situations. And they also are probably they may be the kernel that kind of started the whole need for me to understand personal purpose, because they were both just incredible examples of people that went through life, and they weren't on a treadmill. They weren't trying to get there super fast, but they were getting there incredibly purposefully. So I think those are probably the ones that I would mention.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me, and it also verifies you're an observer of people. So if I may say, you're taking something good from this person, something good from this person, something good from that person, and they're all very positive.
Yeah, that's true. I've never actually had a formal mentor, but I have been mentored by people that have no idea they mentored me. So my philosophy has always been, if I'm around somebody and I walk out of that experience and I feel something that is really positive, or they inspire me, I would step back and I'd say, gosh, I want to do that for other people. What is it that they just did that made me feel that way, so that I can purposefully do that to help other people feel that way?
The series of mentors, there's linkages, and I'll make a linkage between mentors and role models. And we are learning, observing that behavior, adopting as much as almost having a conversation. And it's kind of what people show you as much as what they tell you.
So I would say, now you know more than I do about this topic, but when I think of a role model, it's somebody that you look up to, and then with the difference between a role model and a mentor is when you're mentoring. And the reason I put these examples as mentors is because I purposefully sought out to understand what was happening and why, what were they doing, so that I could figure out purposefully how to do it, versus just looking up to them. I was actually trying to learn from them. But maybe you can dig deeper into that. There's probably similarities and differences, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to argue with a PhD.
I didn't get my PhD in that.
I do think you've hit on another topic, and that is people who are successful and study themselves and are naturally curious about the world. You may find a mentor in a lot of different places. And that's been a recurring theme, just by being curious. So let me switch gears now. I'm also interested in people who have recently been mentors, had that influence. What's an example? What did you learn from that person?
Well, this is where I want to go back to something I mentioned at the beginning, my two daughters. Now, I don't know, maybe it's odd to think that you look towards your children to mentor you, but they they look at life through a completely different lens, and it's the same world, right? And so I'm actually constantly asking them, talk to me. What do you see? Why do you see it that way? And with the intent of helping me understand, I think it's fascinating to see the world through somebody else's eyes and talk about a very different perspective. One of the things that I've observed for anyone out there who has kids, teenagers at this age, I'm not sure if you've experienced the same thing, but in social media, you can swipe if you like something one way and you swipe the other way if you want to delete it. Well, it was probably about 2 years ago where I noticed in conversations with my daughters that they would swipe me with their eyes. Like their eyes would just go one way or the other. And as soon as they did that, the exchange would change, and they were either engaging with me or they were just couldn't get out of the conversation fast enough. And I made this connection to say, that's fascinating that they're actually now doing something that kind of came through the whole social media in actual one-on-one conversations. And it taught me to just be really observant for different different ways that people interact and how that might be changing in connection with the way our world of communication has changed, not necessarily just the one-on-one.
I am fascinated by this. One, I never had kids, so I don't have teenagers, but you've got me very curious. I'll use that word again. And again, just observing and learning.
And I'm wondering if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Could be just my daughters, who knows? But I'm really wondering if anyone else has experienced that being very quickly into a conversation with somebody, that people just decide, nope, not listening anymore, not connecting, not engaging, like we're done. And doing it possibly a lot faster than we would have done it in the past.
So let me ask you my final question about mentors. I know you get approached all the time to be a mentor, and you think about these things. What are those important characteristics of a good mentor? And before someone says, yes, I'll be a mentor, what should they consider?
So I think to be a mentor, there's also things that you should do if you're going to ask to be mentored, right? But to be a mentor, probably in my mind is, and like I said, I haven't had any former mentors. Now I've been a mentor to other people, but I have not had people mentor me. But I think what's helped the most is the times when I put myself out of my shoes, and I'm not there to tell them what to do. I'm there to ask questions. And this goes back to seeing the world through the lens of my daughters, right? If I were to just give somebody an answer, then they're looking at life through a totally different lens. So my answer may not either make any sense or it may not apply. But if I can ask questions from things that I've learned, then they can see it through their lens, and then they can figure out how to make meaning of it. And it's only when we make meaning of something personally that we really adopt it anyway. So I guess the whole purpose of being a mentor is not to be a role model where I want you to do what I've done, but I'm here to help you figure out how to be your best you, because there may be certain things that I've done that you can make meaning of in your world. I didn't get a PhD in this, so that's just a perspective.
I will tie it back to, though, if you can help, if you start it with you understand or want to understand that person's purpose and their lens, these connecting words in our conversation are really resonating with me. Thank you. Thank you. I really want to say thank you for participating in the interviews. I'll say thank you, and I'll say thank you, Dr. Berg, and I hope you have a great week.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I wish you the best of luck, and good luck everybody out there with exploring how to become a better you through mentorship. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jodi.